Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. My name's Mark Walker, and if you enjoy the content, then consider sticking around. Hopefully because you like it, and maybe also because we give away free games all the time. Congrats to this person on the screen, you've won this week's free game. To enter, simply make sure you're subscribed and you've pushed all the buttons. We still have until the end of this month, where you can save 10% on all your Eshop cards, your Nintendo Online, even your Xbox stuff, over at switchup.gg. using code SwitchUp. Now you'll know that each week I put a couple of physical games in this list. Well, I've changed slightly so that the physical games are always going to be titles that have the full experience on the cartridge without you having to download anything. Assassin's Creed. And stick around to the end where we'll have a game, or maybe two, that you should certainly avoid, because every time they go on sale, Balan Wonderworld puffs out its chest, because for even a few brief moments, it doesn't look so terrible. What's on sale? Well, let's find out. First up then, we've got Cuphead, and I didn't realise there's actually a Netflix series of this that you can watch that uses that same amazing rubber hose and art style, and it's quite a lot of fun actually. This one is a 1 or 2 player co-op platformer, and it splits its action between side-scrolling, brutally challenging run and gun, and then standalone boss fights. It's quite funny seeing the average time to beat being around about 10 hours. I think I spent that long on one boss fight. There's a brand new DLC for this one about to come out, and it's currently 25% off in the US and the EU Nintendo Switch eShop. It has a download size of 3.3 gigs, and there is a physical available of this as well if you're interested. Next up then, and also on sale in both regions, we've got The Wild at Heart. This is a lovely puzzle adventure that went under the radar of most players. Glen recently completed it and thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a world filled with very strange creatures, and I guess it takes some influence from Pikmin. You have these strange little spritlings which follow you around and are used for some of the puzzling. And there's also some crafting in here as well, which is there to mix up the gameplay a little. But by all accounts from Glen, this is a real hidden gem and well worthy of adding to your collection. This one has a download size of 1.8 gigs, and you're looking at about 12 hours just to do the main story, but if you want to do absolutely everything, then more like 20 to 30. It's another one that does have a physical, but it's generally a little bit more expensive. And that takes us perfectly onto our little physical pick this week, and it's Dark Souls Remastered on Nintendo Switch, which is currently 20% off over here on Amazon UK. That takes it down to £27.95. In the US, you can get it at a slight discount on Amazon through third-party sellers, and then I'm sure there are some other places. Perhaps let us know down in the comments. Although it's not the cheapest game on this list, it's easily one of my favourites. It very, very rarely goes on sale on the eShop. I can't actually remember the last time. I think it was actually went down to half price, maybe the tail end of last year. But if you're a physical collector, and I think the way the world's going, physical is where the value's at as long as everything's on the cartridge, then this is a nice one to pick up. Dark Souls isn't nearly as hard as the world would have you believe, certainly not this one, and you're free to go wherever you want right from the start. Obviously there'll be certain obstacles in the form of hideous bosses, but it has an incredible atmosphere and is really a one-of-a-kind type game. The second physical, and another one that has absolutely all the content on the cart inside of the game box and not floating around in the cloud, is Kingdoms of Amalur: The Re-Reckoning. On Amazon, this is 29 quid, that's 21% off here in the UK, and over in America, if you head over to GameStop, you'll find it for $29.99, that's a 25% reduction. Kingdoms of Amalur is quite an old game, but after Dragon's Dogma, this was the one I wanted to see most. It's a classic style RPG, tons of side questing, and yeah, there are some dated elements, but actually it's got some decent combat. This is an ARPG in the combat department, don't expect any turn-based here, but there's loads of different abilities, there's loads of classes that you can take on, and it's held up surprisingly well for me. Feel free to check out our full review of this one. It's 12.3 gigs, and to do everything, well, they say 20 is the average, 20 hours, but yeah, I'm obviously very slow. I'd say more like 50 hours, and well worth adding to your physical collection. matching its previous low, but not really getting much love on this channel. I don't know, for whatever reason we haven't mentioned it. It's Death Road to Canada. It's half price at the moment, taking it down to £5.99 or your regional equivalent. And it's a game I bought so long ago and then finally got round to playing and absolutely loved it. You can customize and create your own characters to take out on these adventures, which to me adds a lot, because I mean, if one of your mates gets eaten by a zombie, it just you know, it's a bit more poignant. Sorry, Glenn. This also has 4-player local co-op as well, and it seems to be one of the only games I've managed to get my missus to play. You make stops along your journey, and it's a kind of a risk and reward system where you decide if things have got a bit too hectic and it's time to bug out, or if you want to push on that little bit more to try and get a little more loot. There are different rare events and weapons and characters, and each time you go on a run, it will be different to the last. It's 206 megabytes to download, and as I say, an underrated co-op experience, but equally good if you're playing on your own. That sale goes on until March the 2nd. On sale for its lowest ever price in both the UK and the US, we've got the Crysis Remastered Trilogy. We were really lucky actually. Pre-launch we got to play this very early because we did a promotion for Crytek whereby we essentially just broke down the performance, which they knew was good and turned out to be very good. There were a few issues where there were some sound bugs and stuff, but that seems to have been cleaned up now. But overall they look incredible. They're first person shooters, but almost sandbox style, where the suit that you wear in the game allows for certain abilities like stealthing or becoming super strong. The biggest issue with these is the size. It's 29 gigs, so you're going to either need a Switch OLED or have an SD card, which seems to be the bane of my life at the moment. At 30% off though for all 3 games, it's well worth it, and that sale goes on until March the 8th. I'm a big fan of tactical turn-based strategies, things like XCOM and Warhammer 40,000. In fact, there's 3 games on the Switch now, I believe, and I've reviewed 2 of them and really enjoyed them. I played through 40,000 Mechanicus, and it had some big issues with performance later in the game, but the core gameplay was probably the best of all 3. Now, what I can't attest for right now is whether or not the performance has been patched on this one. Even so, it's 65% off, taking it down to £12.24, and there were only certain stages where performance was a major issue, and that was much later in the game. It was still very fun. What I will try and do is get this loaded up on my Switch, and I'll amend the top pinned comment, just letting you know if there has been an update to it. But regardless, I still think it's worth £12 or your regional equivalent. There are 50 different missions, as well as the DLC, the Heretic missions. You're looking at a 4.8 gig download and about 20 to 40 hours if you want to do everything. Side note, it's also available physical at 33% off over on Amazon. Next up then, we've got a Dark Souls inspired game called Hellpoint. Now, I had a bit of a, let's say a discussion with my mate Alex from Switch Corner, because he put this into his worst games of the year list, and I was like, what are you on about, bro? I think when he first played it was when the performance was terrible, but it got patched up like a lot. They went back a few times to patch it, and it's never going to be an oil painting, but it ran significantly better. The core gameplay is very classic style Souls-like. There are small areas where you can upgrade from, you gradually push further into different levels, sometimes you'll revisit areas, and there are some okay boss fights. Now look, some of the boss fights are a touch janky, I'm not gonna lie, but the overall atmosphere gave me that, I don't know, that Dead Space feel, I guess, that I so hope they bring over to the Nintendo Switch. That's not to say those 2 games are similar, they're not, they're very different experiences, but there's an atmosphere with Dead Space, isn't there? And for me, Hellpoint captures something similar. Then we've got the brilliant Streets of Rogue. This is so addictive. It's half price at the moment until March the 2nd, and it also has offline 1 to 4 player, but online 1 to 4 player as well, so you can get a group of mates together. It gave me Syndicate vibes. Do you remember the original Syndicate games? There are so many different classes you can use here though, that every time you play it's very different, but it doesn't feel like a traditional roguelite in that sense. Even though I guess many of the mechanics are similar, to me it just had that Syndicate vibe. Each stage has different factions moving around it. Sometimes they'll attack each other rather than you. You can blow holes through walls, rob banks, and you'll have different instances that occur within the stage. It's just a bit more interesting than your standard in that, yeah, that unusual mission system in each floor, so you'll have to carry out certain missions before you can then progress. An unusual title really, another one that we have a full review of if you want to go and check that out, but this matches its cheapest ever price at £8.99 and it's only 469 megs. 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 Next up then, and this is a wildcard entry, so it's not a hidden gem, although it is a hidden. I just don't know if I can call it a gem. It's more of a wildcard. This is Animus Revenant. Now, I've played through probably about 6 hours of this one, and as it probably looks, it's a top-down Souls-like, but surprisingly enjoyable. The action takes place from this isometric fixed perspective. What I think appealed to me was that it was an A to B game. You won't be backtracking here at all. You literally progress through a set experience. It's curated, I guess is the best way of putting it. The other games, they got slammed in one area, and that is that you literally had to repeat certain stages over and over, and you saw the same things quite a bit. There are some really cool boss fights in here though. I had the first boss was a real pain in my arse, but when I beat him I was actually quite impressed by how fair it was and genuinely skill based. So yeah, I can't attest for the full game. You're looking at about 20 to 40 plus hours to do everything and to finish it, but from what I've played at this reduced price, it's a good little wild card potential pickup. It's 2.5 gigs, it's a fully solo experience, and it might tickle your fancy. See how you feel. So that's it for the games that you might be interested in. Here are 2 games that you should definitely avoid. And I might have just saved you here because I'm sure you were about to rush out and buy it, but literally just gone on sale is Merry Christmas Snowball Bubble. Released in December 24th, surprise surprise, this one fills a bubble with certain Christmas related items, and then you get the stimulating experience of destroying them to find out what's inside. Or you could not do that. I'd suggest the second option. I'm really beginning to respect my daughter's opinions on games. She assures me that you should not, as a kid, be picking up My Universe school teacher. She says, and I quote, "It's absolute trash. You should play Xenoblade instead." What an absolute G. And look, just because you have kids and they say they like certain experiences, maybe try and curate them a little so that they actually get quality rather than this tripe. I'm sorry if your kids like it, and you know, I feel a bit bad in a way, but it was an 8-year-old, so you know, I have to go with what she says. Apparently it's incredibly clunky, the weekly planning doesn't make a huge amount of sense, and it gets boring exploring the school very, very quickly. So that's it for this week. Let me know in the comments, what games have you finished recently? Glenn and I are bashing our way through a brand new list for you, a bit like our 12 Days of SwitchUp series, but featuring many faces that you will find familiar, or many voices if they don't appear on camera normally. Hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on that one. I can't believe I just said hit that notification bell. If you wanted to hit it, you'd have done it already. Sorry, I apologise. A big thanks to our patrons and to everyone who enjoys the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, have a good week. See ya!